Fellow Americans in Puerto Rico are currently facing mass destruction and devastation after Hurricane Maria almost completely wiped out their electrical grid, leaving most of Puerto Rico's 3.4 million residents with no electricity. And when you look at images from Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria hit, it looks like scenes from a post-apocalyptic movie. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Now, CNN's Leila Santiago did a report explaining how different regions of the island were affected differently by the hurricane.
This woman doesn't even know who I am, but I'm the first person she's seen land here since Hurricane Maria battered the island. The floods, the debris, the lack of power, all making already hard to get to areas even tougher to reach. Even FEMA hasn't set foot in some parts of Puerto Rico. We took a chopper from San Juan to remote areas largely unseen, like a small town next to the Oaxaca Dam on the northwest part of the island. The dam has been breached, and the government ordered 70,000 nearby residents to evacuate. It is here in nearby Quebradillas where I was met with such emotion, the people starving for assistance.
She says if something happens to that dam, that could be just as bad as the hurricane itself.
Communications are so poor, many are asking us to send messages to their families. From the air, you can see why more than 3 million U.S. citizens could remain in the dark for months.
This is the problem. This is why Puerto Rico, 100% of the island, doesn't have power right now. Granted, the infrastructure was vulnerable before Maria passed by, but you can see with these power lines down what the challenge is. They're completely collapsed.
Heading further inland toward Utuado, the death toll is among the highest here. This is where we meet 56-year-old Rosario Heredia. She is diabetic, just had surgery, and is unemployed. Now, she doesn't have a home either. This is what Maria did to her home, water spewing from every corner. By now, she thought help would have arrived. It hasn't.
Because she's hopeful that someone will help her.
Para volver a reconstruir otra vez.
To be able to rebuild this.
Flying south to even more remote Yauco. The roads are blocked, forcing us to find another way to get to this home. Coffee growers Gaspar Rodriguez and Doris Velez tell us the problem here is food. Most of what they have left has gone bad.
He says you work and work and work, and it's for nothing because he's lost everything.
A common theme on an island of 3.4 million U.S. citizens, now waiting and hoping that help is on the way.
So when you see that report, not only is it heartbreaking and honestly difficult to watch, but it's clear that we need to take immediate action to assist the people that live in Puerto Rico. But up until this point, Donald Trump has been MIA. I mean, he's basically ignored the huge humanitarian crisis that we've seen unfold over the last week. And he didn't actually even acknowledge the situation until he received a substantial amount of criticism for it. But when he finally decided to speak up about Puerto Rico, he had the gall to actually toot his own horn about how well he responded to Puerto Rico after he's been ignoring Puerto Ricans. The Washington Post explains President Trump on Tuesday strongly defended his response to the devastation in Puerto Rico, saying his administration was earning tremendous reviews even as fresh news reports from the hurricane-ravaged island shows an unabated humanitarian crisis. Everybody has said it's amazing the job that we've done in Puerto Rico, Trump said during a Rose Garden news conference. We're very proud of it. This was a place that was destroyed. I think we've done a very good job. The president's rosy assessment came amid mounting criticism that he has appeared far less engaged in the recovery efforts of a U.S. territory with a long history of unequal treatment than in those in Texas and Florida after the recent hurricanes in those states. Trump announced plans to visit Puerto Rico next week to get a first-hand look at the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, which killed at least 16 people and left most of the island's 3.4 million people without power and facing serious shortages of food and medical supplies. His commentary are just unbelievable. The hubris that he continues to exhibit, it honestly blows my mind. After you ignored Puerto Ricans and ignored this humanitarian crisis, you have the audacity Donald Trump, to come out and boast about the great job that you're doing. So, I mean, at least he's seemingly aware of the situation, but he's only speaking out now, not because he cares about Puerto Ricans, but because he doesn't want this to turn into his own Katrina. And let's be honest here, the real reason why he wasn't quick to act here is because since nearly half of Americans don't even know that Puerto Ricans are American citizens, probably including Trump himself, he probably didn't expect this much backlash from ignoring the issue. Now, besides dealing with the outright destruction of their home, Puerto Ricans, as they try to rebuild, will be dealing with an even worse political landscape. And it's only going to get worse, especially when you see how private companies are trying to exploit them. So David Dayen of The Intercept reports a group of bondholders who own a portion of Puerto Rico's massive $72 billion debt has proposed what they are calling relief, but in the form of a loan. So they're offering a territory mired in debt the chance to take on more debt. The announcement came after The Intercept spent 2 days reaching out to 51 of Puerto Rico's known creditors, asking them if they would support a moratorium or cancellation of debt payments for the island, given the humanitarian crisis. Prior to this announcement, only 3 of the 51 creditors had so much as donated relief funds to charity or offered sympathy for island residents. All of them banks who actually have to face consumers and so are a bit more adept at handling public relations. No creditor had supported debt relief. So in other words, Puerto Ricans are being exploited here, and creditors are capitalizing on catastrophe in an effort to make even more money off of Puerto Ricans. And really, in offering them this money, they're not giving Puerto Rican officials much of a choice but to accept it because, with the amount of money that it's going to take to rebuild after apocalyptic levels of destruction, it's going to be astronomical. So they pretty much have to take it. They're backed into a corner. But this is setting Puerto Rico up for a political situation that's even worse for Puerto Ricans in the long term, because you can guarantee it's going to lead to more austerity and poverty and political corruption, and it's just going to get worse for them. It's heartbreaking. It's incredibly saddening, and they've got a long road ahead. And what makes me even more angry when I think about this situation is that last week, Congress approved a $700 billion military budget. But for some reason, we just can't find any money for Puerto Rico to help out 3.4 million American citizens. How awful is that? How immoral is that? Our priorities are completely ass backwards in this country. But since our government won't help, well then that's where we come in. So I'm going to link you to a page on Our Revolution that provides you with organizations that you can contribute to that will use that money to help rebuild Puerto Rico. No strings attached. They just care about helping Puerto Ricans. And to all of our viewers in Puerto Rico that wrote to me right before the storm hit telling me just how terrified you were, even though you probably won't see this message, just know that our thoughts are with you and progressives will not allow you to be forgotten.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.